Welcome to Numismatic Vault, the channel where coins aren't just spare change, they're hidden treasures waiting to be found. In today's video, we're diving deep into the world of rare and valuable Washington quarters. Some of these coins are worth far more than you'd ever imagine, and the best part, they could be sitting in your pocket or coin jar right now. So get ready, because by the end of this video, you might be looking at your change in a whole new way. Top 1 today. We're traveling back to the late 1960s, a time of major change for U.S. coinage, to uncover the secrets of the 1967 Washington quarter. At first glance, this coin might look like any other silver-colored quarter, but hidden within this piece of history are details, errors, and varieties that can transform it from a simple 25-cent coin into something worth a small fortune. So, coin lovers, sit back, listen carefully, and let's dive into the incredible world of the 1967 Washington quarter. To understand the story of this coin, we need to look at what was happening in the United States during the mid-1960s. In 1965, silver was officially removed from circulating quarters because of rising silver prices and a shortage of coins. Up until 1964, Washington quarters were struck in 90% silver, but starting in 1965, the mint switched to a clad composition of copper and nickel. This was a huge change, and collectors were scrambling to get their hands on silver coins before they disappeared from circulation. The government noticed this and decided to discourage hoarding. From 1965 to 1967, the mint actually removed mint marks from coins, meaning you won't find a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco on the 1967 Washington quarter. Every single quarter from this year looks the same in terms of mint mark placement, making it a little trickier to track where exactly a coin was produced, but even though these quarters were made in massive quantities, over 1.5 billion were struck in 1967, some rare and unusual versions have become highly collectible today. The most famous of these are the error coins. One of the most well-known errors from 1967 is the double die variety. On certain coins, parts of the inscriptions or the dates show clear doubling, making the details look thicker and giving the coin a distinctive appearance. Collectors pay strong premiums for these double die quarters, especially if the doubling is bold and visible without magnification. Another exciting discovery in the 1967 series comes from striking errors. Off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the coin wasn't aligned properly during minting, can make the coin unique and highly desirable. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin tends to be. You'll also find 1967 quarters with clipped planchets, where a small piece of the coin is missing because the metal blank wasn't cut correctly. These odd shapes grab collectors' attention and often bring impressive prices at auctions. There are also examples with missing clad layers. Since the quarter after 1965 was composed of a copper core sandwiched between nickel layers, sometimes one of those outer layers didn't bond correctly. The result is a quarter with a striking coppery appearance on one side, making it stand out instantly from the rest. Condition, of course, plays a huge role in value. While most 1967 quarters circulated heavily and picked up plenty of scratches and wear, a small number were preserved in pristine condition. The mint also produced special mint sets, or SMS coins, during this time instead of proof sets. These SMS coins often feature sharper details, mirrored surfaces, and a more polished appearance. A 1967 Washington quarter in SMS condition or in the highest mint state grades can command serious attention from collectors. What's truly remarkable about the 1967 quarter is how it reflects a turning point in American coinage. It was a period of transition, experimentation, and high demand for coins. And within that chaos, mistakes happened. Mistakes that today make these coins valuable treasures for those lucky enough to find them. So, what about the value? Most 1967 Washington quarters you come across will only be worth their face value of 25 cents. But if you happen to find one with a major mint error, or in spectacular condition from a special mint set, the story changes dramatically. Some of the rarest 1967 quarters with the right errors and grading have sold for eye-opening amounts. In fact, one of the most extraordinary examples of a 1967 Washington quarter has been valued at an incredible $81,000. Yes, you heard that right, $81,000 for a coin that millions of people once carried in their pockets without a second thought. That's the magic of coin collecting. Hidden treasures are out there, waiting to be discovered, and the 1967 Washington Quarter is proof that even in the most common places, something extraordinary can emerge. So, the next time you see a quarter from 1967, don't dismiss it. Look closely, study the details, and you might just uncover a rare variety or error that could change everything. Top 2. We're turning our attention to a fascinating piece from the mid-70s, the 1974 Washington Quarter. At first glance, it might look like the same coin that jingled in the pockets of millions of Americans, but when we look closer, we discover stories of minting quirks, rare errors, and exceptional conditions that can turn this simple 25-cent coin into something worth thousands. So, collectors and coin lovers, listen carefully and enjoy the journey as we dive into the secrets of the 1974 Washington Quarter. The Washington Quarter had been in circulation since 1932, designed originally to honor the bicentennial of George Washington's birth. By 1974, it had become a familiar and trusted coin in everyday commerce. The design was still the same, Washington's profile on the obverse with the word Liberty across the top, "In God We Trust" on the left, and the date 1974 at the bottom. On the reverse, the eagle with spread wings sat proudly, clutching arrows and an olive branch, a symbol of both strength and peace. But the 1974 quarter was part of an interesting era in U.S. coinage. Since 1965, the mint had removed silver from regular circulation quarters, switching to a copper-nickel-clad composition. This change was made to stop hoarding as silver prices rose. By 1974, all quarters were made of this clad metal, with a copper core sandwiched between two nickel layers, giving the coin its silvery shine but no actual silver content. Now, with more than 800 million quarters struck in 1974 between Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, you might wonder, what could possibly make a coin from this year rare? The answer lies in errors, varieties, and condition. Point 1. Of the most sought-after varieties from 1974 is the double die obverse. On some coins, the inscriptions or parts of the date appear doubled, caused by a misalignment during the die-making process. These doubled dies are highly collectible, especially if the doubling is strong and visible without magnification. Then we have striking errors. Off-center strikes are among the most dramatic, with portions of the design missing because the blank was not properly centered when struck. A coin that is significantly off-center yet still shows a full date and lettering can bring in strong premiums. Another fascinating error involves clipped planchets. These occur when the blank piece of metal used to make the coin is improperly cut, resulting in a quarter with a missing section. Clipped planchet errors from 1974 are known and always catch the eye of serious collectors. There are also examples where the clad layer is missing, revealing the reddish copper core beneath. These errors are highly prized because they give the coin a completely different appearance from a normal quarter. Sometimes the missing layer is only on one side, giving the coin a unique two-tone look. Condition is also a major factor. While most 1974 quarters circulated heavily, worn down from vending machines, toll booths, and countless pockets, some were saved in pristine condition. Quarters graded at the highest levels of mint state, with sharp strikes and clean surfaces, can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. That we should also mention proof coins. In 1974, the San Francisco Mint produced special proof quarters for collectors. These coins feature deeply mirrored fields and frosted designs, making them especially beautiful. When these proofs are preserved without any blemishes, they become even more desirable. A proof coin with cameo or deep cameo contrast can often command impressive prices. What makes the 1974 Washington Quarter especially interesting is that it's part of a bridge between eras. Just 2 years later, in 1976, the Bicentennial Quarter would temporarily replace the eagle reverse with the famous drummer boy design. That means the 1974 issue represents one of the final years of the classic eagleback design before the nation celebrated its 200th birthday with a brand new look. So, while most 1974 Washington quarters are still worth face value today, a small percentage, those with dramatic errors, rare double dies, or exceptional grades, are highly sought after by collectors. These coins show us how something as ordinary as pocket change can hold extraordinary stories. And now for the part you've been waiting for. While the majority of 1974 quarters will only ever be worth 25 cents, there are rare and exceptional examples that can bring in jaw-dropping amounts at auction. In fact, one of the rarest 1974 Washington quarters has been valued at an astounding $79,000, yes, you heard that correctly, $79,000 for a coin that millions of people once spent on bubble gum, soda, or parking meters without ever giving it a second thought. That's the thrill of coin collecting. You never know when a rare treasure might be hiding in plain sight. So the next time you come across a Washington quarter from 1974, take a closer look. Study the details, check for doubling, look for unusual errors, and consider the condition. You just might be holding something far more valuable than it appears. Top 3. We're diving into the fascinating world of the 1979 Washington quarter. At first glance, this coin might look like the ordinary change you've seen countless times, but hidden within its history are rare varieties, minting errors, and pristine examples that make it a must-know for collectors everywhere. So sit back, listen carefully, and enjoy this story of a small coin with the power to carry a big price tag. The Washington quarter had been around for nearly 50 years by 1979. First issued in 1932 to commemorate the bicentennial of George Washington's birth, it became a staple in American coinage. By the late 70s, the coin was still carrying the same patriotic design, Washington's profile on the obverse, bold and strong, with liberty above and in God we trust at the left side. The date 1979 rests at the bottom, clear and proud. On the reverse, the eagle perches with wings spread wide, clutching arrows of defense and an olive branch of peace, a familiar and powerful image that had been used for decades. The composition of the 1979 quarter was copper-nickel clad, a metal combination first introduced in 1965 after silver was removed from circulating coins. While this change disappointed some collectors who loved silver coinage, it ushered in a new era of durable, everyday coinage that could withstand decades of use. Still, the clad quarter hides its own treasures. The Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints were all busy in 1979. Millions upon millions of quarters were struck. On the surface, that makes it sound like every 1979 quarter should be common. But coin collecting is not about how many were made, it's about how many survived with something special. One of the first things collectors look for in a 1979 quarter is condition. The vast majority of these coins circulated heavily, tossed into cash registers, change jars, and vending machines. They picked up scratches, dings, and wear. But the rare survivors, those carefully preserved in mint state or even gem quality, are a sight to behold. A bright, lustrous 1979 quarter without marks can be dramatically more valuable than its circulated cousin. Proof coins struck at the San Francisco Mint in 1979 are another highlight. These proof quarters were never meant for circulation, they were struck with specially polished dies and on specially prepared planchets, resulting in mirrored surfaces and frosted designs. Collectors particularly prize proofs with strong cameo or deep cameo contrast, where Washington's portrait stands out frosty white against the mirror-like background. When kept untouched, these proofs are treasures in themselves, but what truly excites collectors are the minting errors and varieties. Let's start with double dies. Some 1979 Washington quarters show doubling on the obverse or reverse, where inscriptions or parts of the design appear doubled due to a misalignment in die creation. Clear and dramatic doubling can make these coins stand out as rare collectibles worth far more than face value. Off-center strikes from 1979 are also popular. Imagine holding a quarter where part of the design is shifted, leaving a blank crescent of metal on one side. The more dramatic the off-center strike, and the more complete the date remains visible, the more desirable the coin becomes. Another fascinating error is the clipped planchet, where the blank piece of metal used to make the coin was cut improperly. The result is a quarter with a missing section, a rare and visually striking error that collectors love. Then there are missing clad layer errors. On some 1979 quarters, one side may appear copper-colored because the nickel outer layer didn't adhere properly during production. These coins are rare and always capture attention when they appear in auctions or collections. It's also worth noting that the late 70s and early 80s were an era when coin collecting was booming. Many people began to look at their pocket change more carefully, searching for unusual features. Because of this, varieties and errors from this time are especially documented and prized. What makes the 1979 quarter so intriguing is that it blends the ordinary with the extraordinary. For most people, it's a simple piece of change. But for collectors, it can be a doorway to hidden value. The thrill of spotting a double die, or finding a flawless mint state coin, or uncovering an unusual mint error is what makes coin collecting so exciting. And now, for the moment you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While many 1979 Washington quarters are worth only 25 cents, the rarest examples, the ones with remarkable errors, exceptional preservation, or outstanding varieties, have sold for extraordinary sums. In fact, one such coin has reached a jaw-dropping value of $76,000, yes, $76,000 for a Washington quarter that most people would never look at twice. That is the magic of coin collecting, ordinary objects transformed into treasures through rarity, history, and condition. So, next time you come across a 1979 quarter, don't just toss it aside. Look closely at the details. Check for doubling, examine the surfaces, and never underestimate the value of pristine condition. You could be holding something that collectors dream about. Top 4. We're focusing on a coin that might seem like just another piece of pocket change but is full of surprises, the 1981 Washington quarter. Collectors, enthusiasts, and treasure hunters, listen carefully because this is one of those coins that proves just how exciting coin collecting can be. The Washington quarter has a long history, first introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington's 200th birthday. By the time we reach 1981, the quarter had already been circulating for nearly 50 years, carrying the same iconic design. On the obverse, we see the bold profile of George Washington facing left, the word liberty at the top, in God we trust along the side, and the year 1981 clearly displayed at the bottom. The reverse still showcased the proud American eagle with its wings spread wide, clutching arrows of defense and an olive branch of peace. It's a design that feels strong, timeless, and very American, but what makes the 1981 Washington quarter truly interesting isn't just its design, but the details behind its production. By this point, the U.S. Mint was decades into producing quarters without silver. Since 1965, all quarters have been made with a copper-nickel clad composition, a copper core sandwiched between nickel layers. While that may sound ordinary, the 1981 quarter hides its own secrets that make it stand out in the collecting world. Millions of quarters were minted in 1981 at Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. With such high mintage numbers, most people assume the coin is common. And in circulation, that's true, you can still find these quarters today. But coin collectors know that rarity is not only about how many were made. It's about how many survive in remarkable condition or with unique errors that make them stand apart. One of the key factors in the value of a 1981 quarter is condition. The majority of these coins were used heavily in daily transactions. Think about how many vending machines, parking meters, and cash registers they passed through over the years. As a result, most show scratches, dings, or worn-down details. But those few quarters that were carefully preserved in mint state, showing full luster and sharp details, can be extremely valuable. The proof coins from the San Francisco Mint in 1981 are another special highlight. These weren't intended for circulation but were made specifically for collectors. Struck with polished dies, proof coins feature mirror-like surfaces and frosted designs. The most sought after are those with deep cameo contrast, where Washington's portrait looks like it's floating on a mirror. When kept pristine, these proof coins are true treasures. Now let's talk about errors, which are always a major attraction for collectors. Double die errors are among the most fascinating. On some 1981 quarters, you might see doubling in the inscriptions or numbers, particularly around the date or lettering. Clear doubling can dramatically increase a coin's value. Another exciting error is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank planchet isn't properly aligned during minting, resulting in a coin with part of its design shifted and a blank crescent of metal showing. Collectors love these, especially if the date is still fully visible. Clipped planchet errors are also known from this year. These occur when the blank metal disc used to make the coin is improperly cut, leaving part of the quarter missing. These dramatic errors stand out in any collection point. One of the most striking errors, literally, is when the clad layer is missing. This leaves one side of the coin with a copper color, since the nickel layer is absent, giving it a two-tone appearance. Coins with missing clad layers are quite rare and always bring strong interest from collectors. It's also worth noting that the 1981 quarter comes from a period just before the major shift in coin designs for the bicentennial celebrations of the 1980s and 1990s. This makes it part of a transitional era in American coinage, which adds to its historical interest. Collectors today are always on the lookout for these rare examples. While an ordinary 1981 quarter will only ever be worth 25 cents, the right combination of condition, mint mark, and rare error can transform it into something extraordinary. And here comes the part you've been waiting for, the value reveal. Among the rarest examples, a 1981 Washington quarter with exceptional qualities and remarkable preservation has reached an astounding price of $73,000, yes, $73,000 for a coin that most people would never look at twice. That's the beauty of coin collecting. It shows us that value isn't just about size or metal content, it's about rarity, history, and the stories these coins carry. So the next time you come across a 1981 quarter, don't dismiss it as just another piece of change. Look closely, check for doubling, examine the surfaces, and think about its history. You never know, you could be holding a hidden treasure. Top 5. We're going to talk about a coin that millions of people have seen, spent, and collected, but only a few truly understand, the 1995 Washington quarter. This coin might appear as just another piece of everyday change, but hidden within it are stories of history, minting quirks, and rare treasures that can make it extremely valuable. Collectors and coin lovers, listen carefully and enjoy this journey because what you'll discover about the 1995 quarter will surprise you. The Washington quarter has been a symbol of American pride since 1932, when it was first issued to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. By 1995, the design was still the classic version, George Washington's profile on the obverse with Liberty above, In God We Trust to the left, and the date clearly at the bottom. On the reverse, the familiar eagle spread its wings while perched on arrows with an olive branch below, a powerful symbol of strength balanced with peace. This design had served the nation for decades and remained iconic until the state quarters program began in 1999. By the mid-1990s, the quarter was still struck in copper-nickel clad, with a copper core layered in nickel. While silver quarters had long since disappeared from circulation, the Washington quarter of 1995 was still a staple of daily commerce. The Philadelphia and Denver mints struck millions of these coins, while the San Francisco mint produced special proof issues for collectors. With such high mintages, one might assume the 1995 quarter is nothing special, but collectors know to look deeper. What makes the 1995 quarter interesting and sometimes incredibly valuable are its rare varieties, striking errors, and exceptional conditions. Let's start with condition. Most of the 1995 quarters went straight into circulation, rattling around in pockets, cash registers, and vending machines. This heavy use means the majority show scratches, dullness, or general wear. But the rare survivors in pristine mint state condition, bright, lustrous, and free of marks, can be worth far more than their face value. When certified by grading services at high levels such as MS-67 or higher, these coins become rare prizes. The proof coins from San Francisco are another highlight. These coins were never meant for everyday use but were struck for collectors with specially polished dies. The result is a coin with deep mirror-like fields and frosted details. Collectors particularly value the 1995 S-proof coins with strong cameo or deep cameo contrasts. These can sell for impressive amounts when kept in flawless condition, but let's get into what excites collectors the most, errors and varieties. One of the most famous errors linked with the 1995 Washington quarter is the double die obverse. On some examples, parts of the inscriptions or dates show clear doubling, which is highly sought after. This kind of variety can take an ordinary coin and multiply its value many times over. Off-center strikes are another fascinating error. These occur when the blank planchet is not properly aligned with the dies, resulting in a coin that has part of its design missing. The more dramatic the off-center strike, and the more visible the date, the more valuable the coin becomes. Clipped planchets are also known for this year. These errors occur when the metal blank used to make the coin was improperly cut, leaving part of the quarter missing. This striking error is always a conversation starter among collectors. Another rare and exciting type of error is the missing clad layer. Since these quarters are made of copper nickel, if one of the nickel layers fails to adhere during production, the coin may appear coppery on one side. These odd-looking but rare errors are highly desirable. Even though the 1995 quarter is not ancient, its value lies in these details: condition, errors, and rarity of variety. It also holds an important place in American coinage because it was one of the final years of the classic eagle reverse before the state quarter series began just 4 years later. That means it represents the closing chapter of a long and traditional design that had been familiar to generations of Americans. Now, here's the part you've been waiting for: the value reveal. While most 1995 Washington quarters will only ever be worth their face value of 25 cents, some rare examples with spectacular errors, double dies, or flawless preservation have been known to reach astonishing prices. One of the rarest and most desirable examples of the 1995 Washington quarter has been valued at an incredible $70,000, yes, $70,000 for a coin that millions of people once spent without a second thought. That's the thrill of coin collecting, finding value where others only see pocket change. So the next time you come across a 1995 quarter, take a closer look. Check for doubling, examine the edges, and pay attention to the coin's condition. You never know, you might be holding one of those rare treasures worth far more than 25 cents. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the story of the 1995 Washington quarter. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more deep dives into rare and valuable coins, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next discovery. Until next time, keep searching, keep learning, and happy collecting.